I get shit done, I have fun, it's my time and I'm the one. I'm breaking through.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Business Renovator. I'm your host, Coach Phil. The topic today is risk management, innovation, and managing potholes. Well, we're going to talk about that a little bit. What I'm fascinated about is the man behind all of that and where he came from. He loves music and he likes to spend time in his backyard because the river runs by. But you'll get to know more about him later on. If you're here watching us live, thanks for taking the time to watch us. Much appreciated. Let us know where you're watching us from. If you've got a question while you're here, pop it into the comment section and we'll do our best to answer that. And if you're watching this on the replay, hashtag replay, let us know where you're watching us from. And if you have a question, ask it. We'll see what we can do to answer it. If you know of somebody that would benefit by learning from the guests of today's show or previous shows or future shows, hey, subscribe to our YouTube channel. That helps us out, helps out our guests. And just never know what the ripple effect will be to somebody out in the universe of the earth. Just never know. Could be today, tomorrow, or 6 months from now. Maybe even a year. I've had some feedback from 2 years ago about the show and how it had an impact on somebody in a positive sort of way. But I got to do this shameless plug because I got to pay for this somehow. So here we go. Shameless plug. It's true, no credit card required. It is a complimentary assessment. Maybe you'll do the assessment and find out, yes, everything is cool, awesome. Maybe you'll find out there's an area that you would like a hand with. Again, if you've watched this show, you can have access to us, me, 30-minute complimentary coaching session. Again, no credit card required. If that helps you out, awesome. If I'm not the guy, I'm part of a network of other highly esteemed coaches around the globe. Maybe we can make an introduction and they will do the same thing for you. But enough about that. I'm excited to have Randy McCord, who is the founder and director of National Best Financial Network. He has a passion for helping people in business keep more of their money in their bank account and in their financial strategies. We're going to talk a little bit about that, but I want to find out who the man is, the legend, the myth. So Randy's a captivating life journey as a leader in independent life insurance brokerage in Canada. And we're going to help you understand what that really all means. He, with a career of over 250 plus workshops, Randy's not just a business leader, but a dedicated educator, empowering business owners to grow wealth safely. He also is a wealth of wisdom, literally, in around a number of different topics, currently teaching investing in real estate at the Calgary Board of Education. He is from Calgary. He resides by the river, almost on the river, but not on it. That would be wet, but he's right beside it. Matter of fact, you'll get a snippet of where he lives because his backdrop is right there. He is not always in the boardroom. And beyond that, he's a guitarist, a singer, and plans to cut a CD of his original material as a retirement project. And want to jam or safeguard your wealth, give him a call. Or maybe ask him a question today. Let's see what happens. I'm going to bring Randy up now because he's why we're here. Hey, Randy, welcome to the show. Appreciate you being here.
Hey, thanks, Coach Phil. Great to be here.
And I did talk about the backdrop. That is your yard. And ladies and gentlemen, it's true. I've been there. I've seen it. I've drank the Kool-Aid. You had an annual event in the back of your yard by the river, and you do that instead of doing something else. What is it in lieu of? Like you don't take a holiday or you don't go to the stampede?
Oh, yeah. Well, we really enjoy our yard is quite exceptional in Calgary. And these properties We're kind of unknown for a long time because Bowness was considered sort of a blue collar community for many years. It was originally its own town.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just beautiful here. It's like being in the country. So we usually don't holiday in the summer. We just hang out at home. So we have a big party in August and invite all our friends and clients and all my musician buddies. So we have a big jam session down by the fire pit there.
Yeah.
So it's a good time.
And you fed us.
Yes. Spelumbos.
Yes, it was very good.
Absolutely.
I had my first one, my inaugural one this year, and I enjoyed myself. It was a lot of fun. I smelled like a hamburger though when I went home.
Well, if you hang out by the musicians, you smell like a fire pit by the end of the.
Either way, it's good, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So, what got you into the world that you're in, business-wise?
Well, it was a very strange journey. I was a musician when I was young, so I played music professionally for about 8 years in my 20s when I left university. And then I met my wife and thought, well, it's time to settle down and, figure out something that's a little more serious, and ended up in the transportation industry. So I worked in international transport for about 25 years, 20 years of that with a very large German freight forwarding company, global company. And I was a sales manager here in Calgary. I worked in Edmonton for a few years as well.
We won't hold that again.
That was my career for quite a long time. And then somebody just chased me. But I have to say that I had a side hustle, which was always real estate, because I had a real estate mentor when I was a kid. And I bought my first house with my first student loan. I owned a house when I was 18 years old. And I rented the house out to students, and I lived in the garage because it was all drywalled and had a furnace because the previous owner was an auto body guy. So I lived rent-free through university, and I put myself through school by renovating and working in construction. So that gave me the acumen to do real estate investing as I went through my transportation career. So I always had these two things going on for about 20 years, 25 years. And because when you're a real estate investor, you of course understand, financial things like mortgages and lending and, those kinds of things. So I got a fair education in financial management anyway, just because of what I was doing. And when I was a little bit disenchanted with my corporate career after 25 years, someone kept approaching me to get into the financial services industry. And I think I swatted her away for about 2 years almost. But she was so persistent that I finally went to a workshop that they held for financial planning, and I was very intrigued. And the folks who ran that workshop, eventually the four of us founded National Best in 2010. So that's sort of the evolution of how I ended up in the industry about 15, 16 years ago.
So I wrote a couple of key words here. You had a mentor. That's good advice for anybody who's watching today, to have a mentor or a coach. I like that. You came up with a way to live rent-free. Who would have thought, right? And a student, creative, innovative in your thinking, and you learned something in addition to your formal academic education. You learned a practical one around construction, and you learned that persistence is probably something, whether you learned it or not, I think you did. But these are nuggets that I think that our audience members could lean on in their world. They don't have to get into real estate. They don't have to look at rent-free, but maybe they could. But the persistency and having a mentor and turning your passion of being a musician and moving on from there. Steve Jobs talks about how we can't connect the dots very easily moving forward, but we look back to see what the dots are and how we got to where we are. That's really the premise for what my show is all about, is to help people see possibilities of how they could invent their world. I'm a big fan of knowing if we know what we want and why we want it, and stifle the how until we get a burning desire to move forward to it. And if the how shows up that takes us towards where we want to, go ahead, act on it. But people, I find, in my experience, and the people my mentors and teachers along the way confirm this, is we get caught up on the how to do this. And because we don't know how, we don't take that step forward. So the other thing I know about you, because I've got to know you a little bit prior to you talking today, is you're kind of guy that takes action and gets shit done.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
It is.
Yeah, what my colleagues at National Best, and I'm going to be totally honest. I'm not the visionary. I am not a visionary. The visionaries of National Best are our president and my other founder, Maria Lezak. They have more of a visionary attitude towards things. She calls me her field general. Yeah, I'm the field general because I'm the one who will go get things done. Like, I'd rather do stuff than try to imagine what might be. Give me a job to do. Give me a hammer and a nail, and I'm good to go. But my other partners really are the visionaries of National Best. But I'm the guy that gets in the trenches and helps the advisors and does a lot of the the day-to-day operational work that surrounds the sales and mentorship part of the business. So it's a nice combination of personalities and skill sets, I think, which is why we've been successful for the last 13 years.
Yeah, I would think that probably has a lot to do with it based on my experience with the clients I've worked with, because you can have a visionary person who gets an idea, gets it started, and then they get bored. They don't want to do the day-to-day, right? And if you don't have somebody like yourself to help with the day-to-day, the vision fizzles, and it was just a dream and then fails often.
Yeah, in fact, they sort of cajoled me into writing a book. And so I'm an author. I wrote a book called The 8-Step Dream Business Plan, which really is about my experience in the industry and how you have to have kind of a personal business plan to make sure that you get up every morning and you keep moving forward. It started out simply as, I wrote down, 8 little items on a scrap piece of paper during one of our executive meetings. And I presented it to the crew, and they said, "Hey, that's fantastic. Why don't you expand that into a PowerPoint presentation?" Which I did, and I would present it at our national conferences or whenever I did sales training. And then they looked at me and said, "That would make a good book. 8 items, 8 chapters." And sure enough, they talked me into it. So yeah, so if there's anyone in the industry, they can go check out the book on Amazon.ca. I think it's like $7 for a Kindle version of it. And it's really, one of the things you'll find, Phil, is that I'm a realist and I'm honest to a T. I don't mince words. I don't try to sugarcoat stuff. If I have an experience that I think is helpful to somebody, I don't try to, make it sound better or, how would I say, easier than it is. I like people to not go into things with one idea only to have them come out the other end with a different idea. I've had a lot of experiences where I thought I was making a decision based on, input from people that was honest, and not so much, right? Mm-hmm. And so in my own life, I feel that it's more important to, provide information that's of high integrity rather than try to, again, which doesn't make me a great sales guy, to be honest with you. Like, I'm not a persuasive person. I like to outline facts and information that's as realistic as can be. So a lot of my clients, they, when I speak to clients, I say, "Hey, look, I'm going to show you a bunch of options, right? And just understand that I'm agnostic toward these options. Like, I'm giving you information so that it helps you to make a decision. I'm not trying to, edge you toward one or another. If they start to veer off the road, I want to keep them out of the ditch." Right. But that's how I approach, my life, my friends, and my clients.
What I like about what you're saying there, Randy, is that is a professional seller. We have options. We let the our clients, prospective clients, make the decision. And as you say, if they go that way and going to fall over and die and crash, we want to let them know that that's the other option. And if they're okay with it, that's their choice. It's not one we'd recommend. So I like that about you. I do teach sales training, and that's what I'm about. I have a friend who has just spent a couple of weekends on live virtual training, and it was the opposite of what you and I are talking about. It's that slam them into the deal no matter what and guilt them into doing it. Well, that's BS in my mind. If we have to do that, then we shouldn't be in selling in the sales profession.
Well, and the problem with my industry, the life insurance industry, is that that's the reputation that they had because of the old school method of career shop. Because that's the way life insurance used to be sold 50 years ago. You worked for one company, you got a territory, you banged on the door during the day, and you got a hold of the wife who was at home with the kids. I mean, this is old school stuff, right?
Right. Yep. Absolutely.
And you'd make an appointment for that evening, and you'd go in, and you wouldn't leave until they'd signed and purchased that insurance. That was the gig. And that image of our industry has persisted over the years, and so one of my great passions is to try and make people understand that that's not how the industry necessarily works anymore. If you approach independent, unbiased agencies. Because there is an independent channel in our industry, you will get what is as close to an unbiased advisor as you can, and that does exist. But you still have to search around for it, because some of the old models still persists in the industry. And I'm hoping eventually someday we can get rid of all of that kind of those kinds of sales tactics that nobody really likes anymore.
No. And the consumer today is quite often more knowledgeable than a lot of the people selling whatever they're selling because of the internet. Now, the internet's not 100%, 1,000% accurate, but there gives them some heads up stuff what to be aware of. So they can tell if you're doing the BS stuff.
Yeah, and I think some people, although I will say this, one of the things about great marketing is that it still works.
Yes.
Really great marketing still works, and it's still meant to persuade, and it's meant to attract the eyeballs and get you involved with their product or their service. And I'm prone to it just like anybody else. And I'm really pretty good at recognizing it and making sure that, I take a, more rational approach. But we all have, those things in the back of our mind that make us want to click here to see more, right? So, but again, in our industry, that's another thing. Like you, having a mentor, having a coach, having an advisor is one of the great things in order to make sure that decision-making process in the back of your brain, that amygdala, that lizard brain, because we're all prone to making decisions with that brain, and that's fine. That's a part of being a human being. But having that mentor, that advisor, that coach is vital. It's like having a sober second thought. So before you jump into that activity or that decision or that investment, just ask the coach, right? Just what does the coach have to say? Like I tell my clients, and you're already a client. If you're making a decision regarding an investment or money or anything, give me a call. I don't charge for a phone call. I don't charge them for advice or for a second opinion. And many of my clients are starting to take me up on it. And for instance, I had one client who they didn't know whether to sell a rental property that they'd held for about 12 years. And so I went to visit. And remember, I'm a life insurance advisor. The only reason they talked to me was because they knew I taught an investing in real estate course at CBE. They knew that I had investments myself. And so I had some acumen in this area. And so we sat down and had an hour-long chat. I didn't give them any advice with regard to buy or sell. We just went over all of the options and the position of each of the partners, the spouses.
Right.
And by the end of that hour and 15-minute discussion, I think they had already come to a conclusion, right? They sorted it out between themselves just by having somebody to bounce the thoughts and the ideas off of. And it's interesting how that kind of advice can be so valuable to to just about anybody.
Yeah, absolutely. You remind me when I was in Toronto a couple months back, and I met with one of my clients there, and we're working in their sales training program. And actually, we completed the program, but I was there for some other things. I wanted to meet some of the people I hadn't met in the flesh, right? A lot of it was done this way. Anyway, he wanted to have was something that was coming his way, and he had mixed emotions about it. So we went for lunch and had a chat, and I didn't tell him what to do. I gave him some things to do for him to capture his thoughts, get his thoughts on paper. I asked him if he'd done that before, and he says, no, they're all up here. And I said, yeah, they kind of go around and around and around, and you're emotionally connected to them, and it's really hard to get rational about them. I said, what if you were to put it down on paper? A couple of weeks later, we're back on another session with something else, and he talked about how powerful that. I didn't tell him what to do, because it's not my job. It's not my job to tell you what decisions to make. It's mine to help you find a way to make the best choices for you. So that's what he did. And so he's made the choice. He feels good about the choice. He's not feeling bad about the other side of the choice. It's an advancement for him and his family, and he's happy about it, and he's not stewing about it because he took the time to, like you just said, you help them come to their own conclusion. That's what I love best about what I do, is see people move to their potential. I also like to think about, for me, I've uncovered for me is that I want to stop under living and grow into my potential. And unlike completing a course and get a certificate, I will never get that. I will never get the master of my potential, because I'm always evolving, always growing. It gives me something, like you said, to get out of bed for and look forward to doing something every day. So,
well, that's why golf is such a great sport.
Oh, tell me more.
Well, you can never get perfect at golf. It's
That's
impossible.
Right. Yeah.
So that's why people keep going back again and again and keep working on it. You get that one fantastic, perfect shot in a round, and that's going to keep you coming back.
Yeah, it's a deuce issue. I've had that shot.
Yeah, it's the same thing in business. There are lots of shanks and a lot of duffs and a lot of misses in business, but it's that one perfect shot that makes you so pleased and so happy that yes, it's worth it to it's worth it to be going through these challenges, to be self-employed or to be in business. Yeah. I think that's one of the things I point out in my book, is that you've got to definitely celebrate the victories, because there are a lot of defeats along the way. Yeah. And that's just natural with any business. No business runs perfectly, and you have to be able to weather the storm when things are a little rough.
Yep.
And I learned that in my corporate career as well. The good thing about the corporate career, when I was in transportation all those years, I can tell you this, Phil, transportation is like no other business when it comes to customer service. Because when somebody's container or air freight or truck freight is not at the door of their customer, right? I mean, they're on the phone. And the language is sometimes a little salty. Mm-hmm. And so over the years, I learned how to manage those kinds of clients. And you have to have a lot of patience. You have to have a lot of integrity. You've got to make sure that you promise, you fulfill whatever promise you give them. And one of my favorites, when somebody was super upset, I would say, hey, look, I understand the issue. We're working on it. Believe me. But I know this is important to you. I'm going to check on it and see if there's anything extra we can do, and I'll get back to you in an hour with an answer. And I would get back to them in an hour. Whether I had a positive or a negative answer, I would get back to them. And 9 times out of 10, that's all anybody is interested in from a customer service standpoint. They just want to know that you're there, that you care, and that you're going to step up and fulfill that promise. I think that's what provides any business or any business owner with the integrity they need to succeed. You know, you got to admit when you're wrong, first of all.
I did my mantra. This thread is everything I do. No one cares about you until they know how much you care about them. That's what you just said, in your own words.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I knew there was a reason why I hang out with you.
Well, it's because I've been around. I've been around the block, Phil.
Yeah, have you?
Oh yeah.
Me too, as well. Speaking around the block, what I wanted to do is let people, like, you're situated in Canada, so the things that you do, from the advising and helping people with life insurance and investments in and around that, is really related to the Canadian marketplace. So the two people,
the U.S. marketplace is similar. There are some differences, but the fundamentals are pretty much the same.
The reason I bring that up was the two people that popped in, Kellen and Alan, are both Americans. One's in Montana and the other one's in Georgia. And they're good friends of mine. I met them through COVID. Wonderful individuals. I'm going to check with Kellen if you're listening now, or if you've popped off. I'm going to, her and her business partner do a podcast about writing books. And when you said you write a book, I was thinking, I hope she heard that. So I made a note here for you. I'm going to reach out to her and make an introduction, and maybe they'll have you on there to talk about the impact of writing a book. Or that's what
the process of writing the book.
Yeah,
very interesting.
That's their shtick. Anyway, I wanted to share this, add to the stream. Well, actually, I did that backwards, Randy. I wanted to go here. No, I did it right. I'm all confused. You looked so handsome in both, I couldn't tell the difference. So this is your LinkedIn profile, and this is where you can go find out more about Randy. It's right there in the bottom, linkedin.com in at Randy McCord, but it's right there. You can copy that. And you could, if you're not friends with him yet there and you want to connect, you can absolutely do that there. He's easy to talk to, right? And the other place we wanted to take them to, let me change this out. We're going to go here. This is your website. And I'm going to make that just a wee bit bigger. There we go. Anything you want me to point to? Oh, there's your story. All right, a little bit more about you if they want to get to know you before they connect with you on LinkedIn and or Facebook. The services that you do, I'm not going to click on those, but group benefits for businesses, personal and family, and how to contact you from the website. You can go right up there.
Yep.
And if you want to get a copy of his book, you can go to, you said Amazon.ca, right?
Yeah, it's called the 8-Step Dream Business Plan.
8-Step Dream Business Plan.
Yeah, I wasn't very creative with it when it came to titles.
But it was practical, right? You said you're a rational dude.
I'm a big practical guy. That's right.
There you go. There you go. Let me get rid of this stuff up here now. Bring you back. There you go. If there was one or two nuggets that you would want to impart on our audience and leave with them, what would that be?
Well, if they're business owners, I think it's really important to understand that that nobody's successful in business alone. You have to have a team, even if you're a solopreneur. I run my own business. National Best is what's called an associate general agency, but each of our advisors is their own individual business. Their clients belong to them. They manage their own book of business. We're just there to provide support and to provide administrative help. So even if you're a solopreneur, it doesn't matter. You still need to have a team of people that you can lean on from either an advisory standpoint, sometimes a supplier standpoint. And in any case, it's surrounding yourself with people that are going to be of high integrity and are going to be honest with you as a business owner. It's important that you take criticism well. When I started in financial services, I still had the attitude of an aggressive corporate salesperson, because in the corporate sales arena, it's important to be pretty aggressive. You know, you have to get past gatekeepers. You got to get the decision makers. You got to get that proposal in front of them, and then, you know, try to close the deal. It's hardcore sales. And when I brought that to the realm of financial services, it didn't translate very well. And because financial services is a much higher trust business, and it's more person to person, and it's a softer kind of entry point into the client's business or their family. And it took me a while to figure that out. I had to have a few colleagues say, Randy, you know, that last networking event, you should cool it a little bit. You're coming on pretty strong. And I took that kind of criticism to heart, which allowed me to learn more about, you know, how to be a better networker, for one thing, because in our industry, that's largely we get clients via referral. So it's important to have a large referral network, and how to be more, how to do it better. Let me put it that way. How to learn about the etiquette of good networking, you know, so that you're not turning people off. You're actually getting people's interest and being able to meet with them, you know, after, because networking events they're just meant to meet somebody briefly and see if there's a reason to go have a coffee later. So, you know, and again, I have a whole workshop that I provide to our advisors. I also actually, once a month, I have the workshop in my boardroom just for free for anybody. It's a meetup. And I get, you know, all kinds of people coming to sort of get the inside scoop on how to be a master networker, because it's not obvious. It's not an obvious skill set for most people. And so again, these are learned, the things you learn along the way, right? Things and you need support. You need people to be able to help you out.
The thing that I like about networking is you get to meet people, and it's generally fun. The energy's high, like-minded people. The thing I don't like about it is that that hot tub moment goes away, and people forget it's called networking, not net funning. Fun is part of it, but you got to work it. No, you got to work the net, though, right? Anyway, that was good sage advice from you, and I appreciate that. One thing I hate about my show is it comes to an end, and that's kind of where we are right now. So I'm going to ask you to hang out, but I'm going to put you in the green room and enjoy yourself as much as you will, and I'll be right back with you. And again, thanks for being here with us today. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach Phil.
Well, let me go over that. Have a mentor. Live rent-free. How could you creatively and innovatively do what Randy did? Be persistent. Be open to being coached and having course correction feedback, which is what he did. He has written a book, and I'm going to work this into my vernacular somehow. It said, a sober second thought. That's what having a coach or advisor like a Randy in your pocket, in your team, and tie it all together with music. I got to throw that in there somehow. Anyway, I would like to get everybody to continue being this. Wonderful. The you in wonderful represents you. You're unique, and you are truly an individual. So continue being your unique, wonderful self. If you know of somebody who would benefit by getting their story out that you like, make an introduction to me. Let's get them on the Business Renovator. Let's share their message, much the same as we did with Randy. Until next time, I'm your host, Coach Phil.
I get shit done, I have fun, it's my time and I'm the one. I'm breaking through.